Matchday 2 picks edition of the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code PLGP to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome, everybody, to the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is Wednesday, the 21st of August, and we are here to handicap Matchday 2 in the Premier League. That came around quick. It's only about 46 hours since we finished our Matchday 1 review and did some National League and Champions League stuff. Joining us eventually is Mr. Barry Penaluna. All right, Baz, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm here eventually. That's all that matters. People, I'm worth some things. Some things are worth waiting for, and that's me. I told you, I just haven't had a lot of time. I've literally just finished writing notes for this about 7 minutes ago. It seems like only about 5 minutes ago I last spoke to you for the last episode, so there hasn't been a lot of time in between. I've been frantically trying to write some notes here.
Oh, there hasn't been a lot of time, you're right, because normally we try and have a bit of banter at the top with stuff that's happening, but it has been under 48 hours since we last chatted, so really bugger all has happened, apart from a few of the picks that we made, which were all right, I think, the other night. Lille won in the Champions League. That was a nice money line play. And then my National League picks weren't terrible. Eastleigh won at a nice price. Both teams to score there against Solihull Motors. The Solihull Motors controversy rumbled on, by the way, yesterday. Lee was messaging. I went right down to YouTube rabbit hole. I saw you were on Twitter talking about it. There's a whole lot of chat going on about that. Halifax held Gateshead, and the other one went down in the red card, 94th minute goal, bugging me up a little bit. The YouTube short one, which was over 2.5 goals in Bodo Glimt against Crvena Zvezda. Bodo Glimt are one game away from making the Champions League now. One of the smallest teams to have made it if they make it in. And we got a runner tonight as well, which is both teams to score over 2.5 in Dynamo Kyiv and Salzburg. That's 1-0 to Salzburg. I think you took Galatasaray, didn't you? Young boys are 1-0 up. We need the turnaround in that. But I think you did all right, Baz. You were one away from a little sweep as well.
Yeah, 3 picks on the National League. Eastleigh team total over 1.5 at 11 away. It was a nice price. Sutton to win again was a plus money price. I think 5-4. Yeah. The only one that let me down was Oldham team total. Finished 1-1 that one. If Oldham had got one more goal, I would have had the clean sweep, which would have been nice. But yeah, not bad from the National League picks. We've done okay.
Yep. All the regulars are in the chat. Yeah, Cree was first in. About 2.5 hours before even I got here. Cree was here. He wants Newcastle minus a quarter of a goal on the handicap. Callum, Andy Williams, I'm guessing, is back from Barbados. That was me. Michael Holden impression. Did you like that, Baz? Whispering death. Won't do it again. Possibly racist. Lee's here. James from Canada. Harry, Chelsea. Lloydo is here as well. Yes, Lloydo, City of Troy. Lloydo tipped that up the other night. I got the little 5-1 double with Los Angeles in the race before Lloydo. 8-11 and 5-4. I paid 5-1 the double. The price boost. He gave that a great ride, by the way, this afternoon, Ryan. We're ticking off those fractions from the front. And the Bacchus people are here as well. Andy still is on in Barbados. Good times for him. The New York Mets have just walked it off in the bottom of the ninth. That's funny. Never place bets on the New York Mets, is the saying, Baz. So, do you want to direct us anywhere apart from straight into these match day 2 picks?
YouTube subscriptions, Malcolm. We've got a bit of a problem. We've been on YouTube now for around about, how long? 18 months, maybe?
Yeah.
Something
You
like
say
that.
so.
We cracked 1,000 followers not that long ago, which was all right. We're up to 1,100 now, which is good. But Cristiano Ronaldo joined YouTube today. Did you know that?
Oh, right, did he?
Yeah, he joined something like 4 o'clock this afternoon, and within an hour he had 4 million subscriptions. I don't know how many he's up to now. Probably a lot more than that. But yeah, it's a little bit disappointing that we're not quite picking up quite as many. So more subscriptions, please. We need to catch up with Cristiano.
There's no way Cristiano is as entertaining as us. There's absolutely no way. I bet he's never eaten egg in a cup live on air, has he? Out like that. Or taking people through his evening slug routine. I've got some new moisturiser today, Baz. Guaranteed, that's the key word, guaranteed to make me look younger, Barry, in 14 days. So, what's the date now? 21st. So, round about the 4th of September, match day 4, when you all tune in to watch me, it'll be like a new man. It'll be like, whoa, who's this kid here? Who's this fresh-faced Brad Pitt lookalike? And it'll be me, Baz, because of my new cream.
You do you, Malcolm. It's not for me, that sort of thing. I'm happy to just grow old gracefully.
Well, I'm also growing old gracefully. I just want to, a little treat for the ladies in it every now and again when they get their eyes on Big Mala up and down the middle aisle at Aldi. Right, okay then. So we're firing straight up into these Premier League picks. Let's go. First, the merch store, 10% off everything with the promo code football. I'd recommend, Barry, getting a Premier League Gambling Podcast t-shirt. Plus, college football kicks off this week. Tune into the Sports Gambling Podcast and the College Football Experience for Week 0 picks and all your favourite futures. First off, Baz, how did you find handicapping these games? Because we both said it was quite tricky this week. Last week, sorry, for Week 1. So Week 2, any easier instinctively?
No, not really. Maybe a one or two where we've got one game of form in the books that we can rely on now. You went very stats heavy last week, didn't you? You looked at the data. Have you stuck with that?
Kind of mixed it up a little bit because normally, Baz, I use my instinct when I've won. If we had this conversation, if I come in on 7 winners, I don't have to look at anything else because I've got it all worked out. And I didn't come in on 7 winners. I came in on 3 winners and 2 pushes. So I'm very much still on eggshells a bit, Baz.
Yeah, I'm still going off instinct a little, but factoring in what we saw last week. So as I say, it helps a little bit, but didn't help the fact I had about 90 minutes to cover all 10 of the games. So it has been a little bit rushed, but maybe that'll play into my hands. Who knows?
Lee rightly points out that new moisturiser is very much Cristiano Ronaldo territory. So maybe we're not a million miles off doing the same content. Me and Cristiano's skin go head to head. So we've got no Friday night football here. The Saturday lunchtime game is a beauty.
Bring back Friday night football.
Sorry?
Where's the Friday night football? What's that all about? You get us all excited with a Friday night game, and then 1 week later they bin it. I've got the house to myself. I'm free rolling on Friday. Helen and the kids are away all weekend, and I'm going to be sat here on a Friday night watching what? There must be someone in the Championship, won't there?
Sheffield Wednesday v Leeds, Baz.
Exciting.
It's all right.
Yorkshire Derby. We'll come up with someone on
Bookings will kick shit out of each other. But Saturday lunchtime is a fun game. 12:30 kickoff, 7:30 Eastern. It is Brighton and Hove Albion against Manchester United. Brighton 6-4 plus 150. The draw 27-10 plus 270. Man United are 13-8, plus 162. So Brighton won last week. Both teams won last week. One team won very impressively. The other team not quite as much. My first instinct was that I don't want to bet Manchester United. We did say that they were one of maybe 3 or 4 teams that have got improvement in them by new players coming in, new players settling down. We mentioned Chelsea, well, who knows? We mentioned West Ham United, who left good players on the bench. And Man United are another one. So they might improve from that showing against Fulham last Friday night. But it wasn't very inspiring. I said that I thought a better team would have picked them off. It took a little bit of a fortunate goal, 10 minutes from time. Could have gone in either way, really. I just don't want to back them at 13-8 at all, especially against a team like Brighton, who went to Everton, who had won 6 home games in a row with clean sheets. They kept the clean sheets themselves. Brighton, they won 3-0. I was torn here because the bet I like most is the Brighton team total. This is in my mind, Baz, this is the kind of team that Man United have trouble with. They sort of defend against it. Sort of a bigger, more direct kind of side. These little, like, wriggly players that Brighton have, really get amongst them. Like, in the Brighton team total over 1.5 is my favourite play. Brighton should be absolutely full of intent. First home game, new manager. They'll just go for it. Brighton aren't going to die wondering at all. But if they do score 2, then I think they win. So really, the play should be the Brighton to win at 6-4. But I'm going to play it safe, Baz. I'm just going to stick with the Brighton team total. Man United did keep a clean sheet, but I'm not really sure how. They looked vulnerable at set pieces, and they looked vulnerable on the break. They just looked vulnerable all over the place. So yeah, I'll take Brighton team total, Baz, over 1.5, 9-10, -111.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same sort of stuff as me. You've got top of the table Brighton at home to 7th place Man United, and it's neck and neck. I mean, the table tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it? Joking, obviously, on that front, 1 game in. But looking at the team's respective fixtures last week, I think we set out last week, or you set out more than I did because I went for Brighton. But you set out the reasons why an away trip to Everton was a hard game. They don't lose many at home, Everton. They don't concede many at home. But lose they did. Brighton put up 3 goals in the end. And I just think that looks stronger than Man United's late 1-0 win against Fulham, which I thought was a little bit fortunate, really. Probably flattered them a little bit. And now Brighton are at home, and it's pretty much a pick 'em here. I think Brighton look the better value for me. I'm in the same sort of markets as you. They've been busy in the market again this week. They've got Ruta coming in from Leeds. It's quite odd seeing Brighton just going out and buying players over and over again, because we're used to seeing them selling their big assets every year, whether it's sort of, McAllister, Caicedo, Cucurella. Over the years, it's always been every year 1 or 2 big departures. This year, I think they've done some good stuff in the market. I think Brighton will have a good season. But yeah, I like Brighton here as well. They won 2 of the last 3 head-to-head against Man United, so they've done all right against Man United recently. I think, like, Man United give up enough chances to Fulham last week, and we said a better team would have punished that, and I think Brighton will do. I was like you, I was toying between the two, the team total or just take Brighton to win. Same price, but I've gone the opposite way. I went for Brighton to win this one at 6-4. I think it's a good price. And if someone wants to be extra cautious, you could take them in the draw, no bet market at 4-5. That's not the sort of thing I'm going to do. No insurance required here. I'll just take Brighton to beat Man United at 6-4.
So I'm pleased you've done that, Baz, because, like I say, that was my other one. Yeah, Brighton are the 4th biggest spenders in Europe this season, Baz. Chelsea, obviously. Atletico Madrid, 2nd. Can't remember who were 3rd. And then Brighton sitting
I
in
read the
fourth.
other day about
yeah,
London, Malcolm. Whilst you're talking about that, I read the other day Chelsea under Todd Bowley have spent more money than 12 Premiership teams have done in their entire existence.
Wow,
so, like,
that's
just
impressive.
about everybody in the Premier League up to about sort of Palace, Wolves, Everton have all spent less in their entire existence than Chelsea have in the last 2 years. That's a bit mental, isn't it?
Idiots.
But they're still going. They're still going at it.
Yeah, they are. Well, we'll get to that. They'll probably, between now and we do Chelsea later on, they'll probably have 3 or 4 new faces in the next 20 minutes. So don't go too early, Baz. We need to keep it going. 3 o'clock kickoffs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 3 o'clock kickoffs, starting with Crystal Palace against West Ham United. Palace 11-10 plus 110. The draw 13-5 plus 260. West Ham 11-5 plus 220. Tight one, this, Baz.
Yeah, I mean, it was two sides who I was quite high on last week. I expected quite a bit from them. I thought they'd both be competitive in their games, and both ended up losing 2-1 in the end. But West Ham might unleash some of their new signings this week, Malcolm. As we know, you can't play them in the first game, but maybe they'll start something in the second game. So will that be enough to make a difference? Yeah. I struggled a little bit with this one. I think this was one of the harder ones, sort of hard in terms of trying to pick a side. If I had to edge one way, I probably would lean towards West Ham just because of the underdog and a slightly better price, I think. Ultimately, I've went elsewhere. I thought both teams created enough last week, and I'll probably feel a little bit unlucky not to have come away with at least a point from their respective games. Both games last week for these two went over 2.5. Both games went both teams to score, and ultimately that's where I've ended up. It's a classic Palace v West Ham. Both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at even money.
Nice, Baz. I'm just scrolling up here because we got a stat on this game early on in the chat. Who was it? Palace West Ham. Both teams to score so many games in a row. Who put that in the chat? I can't find it. Not to worry. Oh, there you go. It was Harry. Last 15 matches between Palace and West Ham have seen both teams to score. So it seems like a reasonable jumping off point. Palace were probably unlucky losers against Brentford. They could have gone 1-0 up. I actually thought the referee was right to disallow that goal. They did say they were going to stop people blocking people off from set pieces. That was another directive.
It wasn't a foul.
But he's blocked him off.
He didn't. They both done exactly the same. There was more of a foul the other direction for me. I was a bit annoyed we didn't cover this the other day when I come off. I thought, we didn't talk about that. It was never a foul. It was never a foul.
If you stand this side of the defender offside, you know he's coming towards you. Your only intention is to block him up.
The defender had his arms around the attacker. It was more
trying to get past.
the other way.
He couldn't get back into where he wants to go. He's getting blocked.
No way.
And they've said they're not allowing that. Newcastle do it quite well. Look, most teams do it. In American football, they call it the pick play, don't they? Where one person just
even the referee who made the decision apologised to Palace and said he got it wrong.
Did he fuck?
So that shows how wrong you are.
He texted me and said he was buzzing that he'd made it and he was right and he thinks I'm mint. So, yeah, Palace were possibly unlucky losers. West Ham will be looking to get some new players involved, maybe. Similar to Crystal Palace, they did okay and lost. But, Baz, I thought exactly the same as you. Both teams lost 2-1, and this screams 2-1. But because I'm running scared a bit, I'm only taking the over 2.5, which is 4-5, minus 125, just on the off chance someone wins 3-0. But you're right, someone's got to win this 2-1. I've got to remember to write yours down as well, Baz, haven't I? Because I'm keeping track, remember. BTTS plus 2.5 for Bazza. Put that in the box. Next game will be, after I've told you about Underdog Fantasy. Pickham gives you a chance to win 1,000 times your entry, or play fantasy football the right way with Best Ball Mania. $15 million in prizes there. Specials and boosts on all flexed entries. Use our code PLGP to claim a special pick and first-time deposit offer, which is up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code PLGP. And Circa Sports is back, the Survivor and the Million, $16 million up for grabs in the two contests. If you sign up in Vegas, you can use our proxy to play from anywhere. We've got a deal, $50 off with the promo code SGP, and that is at proxy.footballcontest.com. Third game on the card is Fulham taking on Leicester City. Fulham go off at 4-5, -125. The draw's 14-5, +280, and Leicester are 16-5, +320. So we just mentioned Fulham when we were talking about Man United game. It was just a lack of quality in the final third that cost them against Man United, and they should find it a little bit easier here. Leicester was just a weird one. I mean, we started the show about 10 minutes after the final whistle on Monday night, and I think us and everyone in the chat was furious as we'd all found a different way to lose on Tottenham. Like, there was about 12 different ways people had done their brains on Spurs on Monday. Because Leicester were really comprehensively outplayed and should have been out of sight before Tottenham just let them back in. Vardy scores. Leicester then didn't look doing much after that. But Fulham won 9 home games last year, Barry, which is a decent record. That's 1 in 2. They won 6 of those 9 came against bottom half opposition, which is what Leicester City are going to be. I think they're a great price, Baz. Fulham are 4-5 on the money line, -125. It's just a plain outright.
Yeah, not much to add really to that. I think, as you say, Leicester will be happy with that draw, and I've no doubt it sort of fed into the prices a little bit. But Spurs should have been out of sight. Although I'll come to Spurs later, and when you look at the stats in terms of XG, Leicester actually had a bigger XG than Spurs on the night. Watching that first half, it felt like Spurs should have absolutely battered them, but the XG stats certainly don't back that up. But going back to the result, I think the draw for Leicester has fed into the prices. I don't think we'd have seen Leicester or Fulham at this price. If we were pricing this up a week ago, I think we'd have had Fulham a lot shorter. We were sitting here saying we don't like Leicester at all. We think they'll struggle. Squad's not strong enough. And nothing's really changed in that respect. So I think, like you, I think the 4-5 is a really good price. I expected it to be shorter. The only concern for Fulham is their home form at the end of last season wasn't great. They've no win in the last 4 home games. But they did have City, Liverpool, Newcastle in that run. And as I say, I'm not going too far back in terms of stats and stuff into last season. Fulham were okay. I think it just boils down to they're a better squad here. I think they've got enough attacking options to take Leicester down. I think they're a fair price. I'll go with exactly the same pick. Fulham to beat Leicester at 4-5.
Fulham money line for Baz. Next game, another 3 o'clock kickoff. And we've got 2 of these games, first couple of the season. We had none of these type of games on the board last week where you've got a really short price favourite. With Liverpool later on. This one is Manchester City against Ipswich Town. Man City 1-10, -1,000. The draw 10-1. Ipswich Town are 18-1. Cray and James in the chat have already mentioned Gundogan coming back. Nice bit of business for Barcelona. Buy him for a gazillion quid. Have him for a year. Give him back for nothing. Well played, everyone. So yeah, Gundogan back at Man City. I wonder what his missus has got to say about that, because didn't she just, the minute they left, she just slagged Manchester off completely, saying it was a shithole, and now she's back again. I did that when I left a job once, and everyone done me a collection, bought me loads of beer and a watch and stuff, and I didn't like the new job, so I went back about 3 weeks later, still wearing my new watch and everything. I was like, sorry lads, I'm back. So yeah, Mrs. Gundogan's up to that. Baz, City Ipswich, where did you find a working man's price here?
I found one. Although Gundogan did go to Barcelona on a free last year, so they didn't buy him for a gazillion.
Oh, was that correct?
Funnily enough, I went and looked at that today because I was thinking the same thing. How much have they just spent to give him straight back? Turns out it was on a free last year anyway. But still a very odd one. Came from nowhere, that. Yeah, I mean, I found it hard to make a case for anything but a City win, and a comfortable City win. Massively tough game for Ipswich to follow up with after Liverpool in week 1. I think probably just going to have to take another another defeat on the chin, dust themselves down, and then come up to some winnable games. But I just don't see, even at a big price, I don't see a case for Ipswich going and being the one that, or the first team to beat Man City in the league for however long, 6 months or something. Always hard to handicap City when they're at 1 to 10, 1 to 11. So I keep it quite short here. I've found something, as you say, try and find a working man's price. The goal with City is always try and find something as close to evens as possible. And at 4 to 5, I've found one. It happened last week in the City v Chelsea game. And it's happened in 7 of the last 8 games for Man City.
Same pick. I got the same pick, Baz.
Yeah. So yeah, 7 of the last 8 league games for City have seen them win both halves. City to win both halves at 4 to 5 looks very reasonable.
Barry.
They do it most weeks. At the end of last season, they did. They've done it last week, and they'll do it again here. City to win both halves at 4 to 5.
Yes, correct, Barry. Nothing else to add at all. Yeah, you dive into all those markets to try and find one that's hovering around evens. Yeah, City to win both halves, 4 to 5, -125 is a team ride in that one. 3 o'clock kickoff involves Southampton against Nottingham Forest. Southampton are 6 to 4 +150. The draw 12 to 5 +240. Nottingham Forest 7 to 4 +175. This one was as tricky as snakes, Baz.
Yeah, you're making me to go first, are you?
No, I'm not. I'll go first. I just because my thing was so short, felt like it was ages since I said anything. Yeah, this is hard, Baz. It's hard to tell what Southampton did because it was a game that was 10 v 11 for 70 minutes or whatever the hell it was. But I mean, I spoke to, obviously, Bob told me about the game. I spoke to Simmers today, and he said Southampton were decent, like probably the better team in the first 25 minutes before the red card. So it really depends if they can put the ball in the net, because that's where they struggle. And that was the question at the start of the season as well, because Adam Armstrong, we know all about him, especially being ex-Newcastle and stuff like that. We've watched him a little bit closer. And he doesn't score tons, and he doesn't score at Premier League level. And then Ben Brereton Diaz, the tit, doesn't score goals. He got a couple last season for Sheffield United, but he's not going to go and get you tons, like. So we knew that before the start of the season. Last week's kind of only backed it up because they did make plenty of good chances without scoring, but they played okay, competed well. Forest against Bournemouth, we didn't really learn anything about that. It was two sort of mid to lower table teams who played each other and drew 1-1. They look pretty similar to last year's Nottingham Forest. Forest only won 2 via the bottom 13 on the road last year. I don't think you can bet them on away from home. Yeah, the 2 games they won away down at the bottom end were Burnley and Sheffield United. So the 2 bottom teams in the last 2 away games of the season when everything was toast, Forest went and got 2 wins there. So really the form line's very weak. Goals looks like a fair price here for both teams, I think. I think Southampton's just going to go for it. It's another one. These home openers are a big deal for teams who've been away from home. We just talked about Fulham, Brighton getting home, Fulham, Palace, all home openers. Southampton the same. They will go for it. Over 2.5 goals. I think because Forest are involved, that tends to make it a bit of a lower price. But anything could happen here. All options are on the table. Over 2.5's 9 to 10, -111.
Well, I've got a goals pick, but it's not the same one as you. I've wrote exactly the same opening lines. It was hard to really know what to make of Southampton after last week, given that they played against 10 men for most of the game. It didn't really give you a true reflection of how they would have went. See, they were going okay early in the game, but doesn't tell us enough, really. Forest took the early lead against Bournemouth, ultimately couldn't see it out. You look at the stats. I mean, I didn't see that game in its entirety. The stats suggest it was probably a fair result. They did create 8 shots on target in that one. Forest did create plenty, well above their average, normally 4.5 shots on goal. I was looking at shots markets a lot today to try and find something a bit different, and not a lot jumped out initially. Certainly not on this game, but I have got something coming up later. Shots. So shots was an angle I considered, but at the prices, I found it hard to get Southampton as favourites here. I don't know what's making them favourites other than the fact they're at home. I thought 7-4 Forest is an okay price. I was tempted with that. But I've decided to go with the Forest team total. Over 1.5 Forest goals at 6-4. They finished stronger last season, as you say, towards the end of the season. They scored 2 or more in each of their last 3 games. Created enough to score a couple last week. I think they'll get 2 here. Pick for me is Forest team total. Over 1.5 goals for Forest at 6-4.
Forest team total 6-4. Harry's gone for a penalty in the game, which is a different angle. And I picked that once last year. Chelsea v Wolves, and it hit. I was buzzing about that. So I think I've retired from that market. 100% record. Josh has got Forest to win 2-1. Josh Foster, welcome along, mate. Okay. Halfway through, so let's talk about the rhythm. Football season is here. College football and NFL models are now live on Rhythm. Create your own winning betting model or let Rhythm do the heavy lifting for you. You decide what stats matter most. Rhythm builds the custom model around that. Or let Rhythm use its predictive model to do all the work for you. Rhythm has got you covered for NFL Week 1 and college football Week 0. Claim your 7-day free trial by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And Game Time, the ticket people, are now authorised ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball. Go and listen to that podcast. It's tremendous. Killer last-minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, low price guarantee, all the good stuff, as usual, on Game Time. I know lots of the network boys and girls have used it. They credit you 110% of the difference if you can find the tickets cheaper elsewhere. The thing to do to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time is to download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code SGPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem the code SGPN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Final 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday is Tottenham Hotspur against Everton. Tottenham are 9-20, minus 222. The draw is 4-1, and Everton are 6-1, Matt.
Where are we? Yeah, 2 underachievers last week. Spurs against Leicester let everybody down, and Everton at home. You know, many teams would have, or certainly Everton fans would have expected better. Obviously, Spurs at home on this occasion, and rightfully favourites, but 2-5. 2-5 is very, very short for this Spurs team. And I don't like it, if I'm honest. I mean, they had lots of possession against Leicester. As I say, to me, it felt like they dominated the game. But looking back at it, their XG for the game is from like 0.97, suggests they created enough chances, but nothing really clear-cut. That said, I think you've got to look at the fact Everton have just conceded 3 to Brighton. And this possibly looks like a trickier fixture on the road to Spurs as opposed to the home fixture they had last week. Don't like Spurs at 2-5. I wouldn't even stick them in an acca, I don't think, at that price. But neither do I want Everton at any price at the minute. So I've delved into the stats here. I've got a stats pick. I think Spurs will create enough at home against Everton. They created enough at home away to Leicester last week. They average 6 shots on target at home. And I like Solanke's price to get at least 2 of them here. He's 11-8 for Solanke to get 2 shots on target. He got 3 for Spurs last week. Most of them were rolled into the keeper's hands. But he's going to get at least 2 here. I don't think it's a stretch. I think it's a reasonable price at 11-8. So the pick for me in the Spurs v Everton game is Solanke over 1.5 shots on target at 11-8. Callum's also, I'm going to jump in there. Callum's mentioned the Tottenham corners. I looked at that. That's where I would like to have gone. But the bookies are all over that. Spurs corners, you've got to start at 8, I think, for 10-11. I mean, Spurs got 15, I think, the other day against Leicester. still, though, it's a big starting point for any team for corners to kick off at over 7.5 at 5 to 6 it is.
Yeah, both teams disappointed last weekend. Tottenham just haven't changed a bit. They're really, really hard to trust, as you pointed out. Everton did okay until they conceded. And that's a bit of a theme with Everton. We mentioned how many games they win with a clean sheet. That's because if they don't keep a clean sheet, the minute they go 1-0 down, they just fall apart. So I do think Spurs are going to win. That was my starting point. They were all right the other night. They should have won. Apparently, Ange gave them a bit of stick in the dressing room after the game. And I think they should be a bit more steely here. But they can't keep a clean sheet for Toffee. Little pun there, by the way. And certainly they can't defend set pieces. And the one thing Everton can do is set pieces. So someone will bundle one in at the back stick for Everton from a corner or something. So both teams to score is really short because the books know that they can't defend. But if you had Tottenham to win, it boosts it up because I do think Spurs will win. So my play is going to be Tottenham to win and both teams to score. That's 7-4 plus 175. Next this is a good game, Baz. Saturday tea time. Where am I on Saturday? Can I watch this? I don't think I'm anywhere. Arsenal are at Aston Villa, where Aston Villa have drifted slightly. Line movement report. Aston Villa were 16-5. They are now Burlington Bertie, 130 plus 333. The draw is 11-4 plus 275. And Arsenal have shortened up. Arsenal were 4-5, minus 125. They are now 3-4, minus 133. So money here on Arsenal. Both teams had good wins last week, especially for Villa, away against a team who were pretty much one of the talking horses coming in terms of new signings and new manager and how they were going to go. And people were fading Villa for whatever reason. But so a really good win for Villa away from home at West Ham. Obviously, Arsenal's was a routine win. They went off at 1-8 or whatever it was. So you expected them to win. But I'm high on Villa. I was high on Villa all pre-season. So nothing's changed here, Baz. I think people have overestimated the effect of the Champions League football. Plus, it hasn't started yet. So what are we talking about? Villa beat Arsenal and City at home last year. And, Baz, Arsenal only won one away game against the top 7. That's not a good record. So Arsenal at 3-4. Minus 133 when they won one of those 7 games. I'm trying to think who they beat now. Tottenham, maybe? I don't fucking know. But anyway, they lost 6 of them. So one option is Villa double chance, Baz, 19-20, minus 105. If you want to go the corned beef tier. But I think Aston Villa are too big. They beat them last year. They beat Manchester City last year. They were good last week. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Stake and Stilton option. I'm just going to take Villa, Baz, at 130 plus 333.
We're in sync on a lot of these, Malcolm. A lot of the same notes, a lot of the same markets we're looking at. 2 teams off to a winning start. And I thought Villa's was a really good result away at West Ham in a game where we thought would be quite close, quite a tight one. The bookies had it as a close one. And then Arsenal went and did exactly what you'd expect. I suppose a 2-0 win over Wolves would be sort of bare minimum at home for Arsenal. Looks a good game on paper, as you say, one of the best of the weekend, I think. And same as you, I thought Arsenal would be a bigger price than this. 3-4 away from home just seems far too short, given the stats that you've mentioned. And particularly, as you say, when there's Villa, who won both of these games. Villa seemed to have their number last season, took 6 points from them. Arsenal had turned those 2 round, they'd have won the league. Arsenal only lost 5 last season, and 2 of them were against Villa. I think with that in mind, I looked at the 2 markets like you, but I've gone for the safer option. I just think Villa, double chance. I've got them at evens here. Villa or the draw at evens just looks far better value than the 3-4 for Arsenal. With Villa at home, and good form against Arsenal recently. I'll take Villa double chance at evens.
So it's a bit weird how we've come around to the same markets, but kind of just picked the opposite option. We've got two options and picked the different one every time. Sunday, early kickoff. There's two 2 o'clocks, which is 9 a.m. Eastern time. The first of which is Bournemouth against Newcastle United. Bournemouth are 2-1. The draw is 27-10 plus 270. Newcastle 15-13 plus 135. Baz.
This is another one a bit like the previous one, where last season's form points in one direction, but I haven't followed it this time, because Bournemouth were a bit of a bogey team for Newcastle last year. Newcastle picked up just 1 point from the 2 fixtures. Solanke was responsible for 3 of the 4 goals that they scored against us, though. He's not going to be around. I assume Evan Nilsson will be ready and must start, but first game in the Prem, you never know how that is going to go. Newcastle will obviously be without Shaw at the back due to his extreme act of violence last week. This is very much on an instinct, this one. Newcastle have lost only 1 of their last 6 competitive games now. Bournemouth have got no win in their last 4. And as I say, based on the fact I've just taken Villa based on last season's head-to-head, should probably be looking at Bournemouth here, but I'm not. I think, again, like we said against Southampton, we didn't learn too much about Newcastle last week due to the circumstances. Although, first 25 minutes, we weren't brilliant. I thought we did have a few players who looked a little rusty, a little tired, which isn't great. First game of the season. Hopefully, an extra week under the belts in training for the likes of Gordon and Guimaraes and stuff like that. We'll see them a little bit fresher this week. I think the two big bonuses last week was Joe Linton back, who was absolutely immense, and Nick Pope, who, most of what he had to do was fairly elementary last week, but he did make 1 top-class save, which would definitely been in the back of the net last season when he was missing. I think if we'd had those 2 last season, they'd have probably been worth another 6 or 7 points for us. Them coming back's a massive bonus. Purely on instinct, I think Newcastle or a decent price here at 6-5. I'm going to take Newcastle on the money line at 6-5 to beat Bournemouth.
Okay. Bournemouth. Hang on, write that down. Yeah, Bournemouth nondescript 1-1 draw against Forest. Went to form, really. They will be missing Solanke. Don't know if Evan Nilsson will get a game. I quite like Semenyo players. They've got some good players still. Newcastle, like Southampton early on, hard to analyse after a game that was 10-11 for 65 minutes. One of the things you can take out of it was that we defended properly. But you're taking Fabian Schär out of there. Whether Emil Kraft or Lloyd Kelly or Mark Gahey will come in to replace him, I don't know. Newcastle's form, if you're going on the form, Baz, like you say, I think you would have to pick Bournemouth here. Because Bournemouth, they battered us down at their place. That was when we were on a really low part of our cycle down there. And our away form was pretty poor. But we're able to put out the much more competitive team. You just mentioned Joe Linton. People like him making a huge difference. Shaw is a big miss, though. So Dan Burn along with Kelly or Kraft. I can give Bournemouth a goal. It does look like goals pass to me. This is my first cheat of the night. Both teams to score over 2.5. Quite a short price. I think the bookies like it as well. It's 4-5 minus 125. Frank's joined us. Frank Gallagher, how are you doing? Harry wants Newcastle with Isak to score. Yeah, I mean, Isak didn't score at the weekend, which means he's more than likely due, I think, Harry. The penultimate game on the show is a 2 o'clock kickoff between Wolves and Chelsea. Wolves are 7-2 plus 350. The draw is 3-1. Chelsea are 7-10 minus 142. Chelsea have not signed any new players since we started the show. A bit disappointed there, Harry. Wolves did okay in parts last week against Arsenal. They were in the game until the second goal went in. What was that, around 60 odd, 70 minutes, something like that. Made enough sort of half chances. And there will be easier days ahead for Wolves. Wolves weren't bad at home at all last season. They beat Manchester City, they beat Spurs, they beat Chelsea at home last year. Chelsea only won 7 away games. They might come and win this, Baz. They absolutely might. But do you want to back them at 7-10? Because I don't know what's going on. There'll be more shenanigans that have come out of last week. They've named squads. And don't forget, Baz, Chelsea have got a Conference League game tomorrow night, Thursday night, against Servette of Switzerland. I always want to say Servette's in Malta, and it's not. So I don't know why I want to say that. It's definitely in Switzerland. And the Thursday, so I don't know what team they're going to play tomorrow. I don't know what team they're going to play on Sunday. I don't know. Who knows? You just can't back them. Wolves are 7-2, man. They're too big, Barry. They're far too big. I take Wolves.
Oh, it's horrible, that.
You hate Wolves, so you hate Wolves. Since the very first show we did here, you've never picked them.
No, and I can't. I struggled here. I mean, the Thursday night game doesn't concern me because they've got 45 players. I'm sure they can work through it one way or another. It is bizarre. I've seen the quotes or comments, from Maresca today where he says, it's not like I'm training 42 players. I'm training 21. The other 20 are training elsewhere, and they could be on 20-year contracts for all I care. That's not my problem. I thought that's not a way to endear yourself to all of those players you're having to upset as well. But I suppose, you've got that side of the squad. You're going to have to be harsh at some point. Anyway, I mean, it's another one. 3 in a row here where the head-to-head form favours the underdog. Wolves beat Chelsea twice last year. Will Chelsea be better this year than last? Quite possibly. I've still got no idea. Again, the defeat to City doesn't really change anything. So not really seen enough of Chelsea yet to want to take them away from home at 8-13. So like you, I don't want Chelsea. It's not to say they won't win. It just feels like a very tight price. So I don't mind you taking Wolves as a value pick.
Thanks,
it's just not where I got to, because I find it really hard to make a case for Wolves. They've won just 1 of the last 11 competitive games. They were terrible at the end of the season. And I look at their lineup and I'm just struggling to see where the goals are coming from. I think they'll struggle to get on the score sheet here. They might make it difficult for Chelsea. They might keep it tight. But I just can't see Wolves getting more than 1 if they get that. I had Chelsea down as probably nicking this 1-0. And I think a low-scoring game is where it could go. It was probably the worst game on the card in terms of trying to find a pick. I probably spent more time on this than anything else. If Chelsea can shut Wolves out, and I think they can, I think the unders is right in play. But I've gone with the right soft play here. I've gone on the Asian goal line, under 3. So we push if it's 3 goals. Rather than taking the 13-10 for under 2.5 goals, Malcolm. I've gone under 3 on the Asian goal line, which you can get with some books. Betfair, Bet365, definitely have them. Under 3 goals at 4-5. So it pushes if we get 3 goals. It's a winner if we get less than 3 goals. That's where I've gone for the Wolves v Chelsea game. An absolute cop-out. I hated this game. It was the worst one on the card.
Not 46 hours ago, Baz, you were slagging me right off for making a couple of bets that involved a push. Any comment on that?
I don't mind it, Malcolm. It's just the fact that you've always got stuck into me for it. It was just a little bit hypocritical, that was all.
I don't know if we've talked about it. Have you noticed Gary O'Neill's had his teeth done?
No.
He's got the big old turkey teeth. Because we have had quite a lot of chats about the hair transplant situation, how it doesn't put you from your group back into my group. There's a separate group. And I don't know what the teeth situation is. Are you a big fan of the turkey teeth, Baz? Is it for you?
Teeth's a touchy subject in here at the moment, Malcolm.
Oh, no, why?
Because Helen's had a bit of a toothache. Can't get into an NHS dentist, can you, these days? No chance. Oh, doors are shut. So, had to go private the other day. £240 just to get through the door. And you come out with a plan for about £1,000 of work that needs done to remove a tooth at the back. You've got to see. You got to go see Dave. He's the one that. It's a complicated one. That one. That's going to be big job. You're going to have to see such and such. He charges £500 to remove a tooth instead of £200 to remove.
Dear Barry,
massive.
You better pick some winners here, haven't you?
Yeah, touchy subject, like the old dentistry, like.
I haven't been to the dentist since 1997, Baz. I decided that if one day, I mean, my teeth are like burned out cottages, like they're not ideal, but I don't think people would notice necessarily. But I just thought the amount of money I've saved over the last 30 years not good. If I do get hit with £1,000 bill, I'm back in business because everyone pays money all the time, don't they? So yeah, I'm not bothered. But yeah, Gary O'Neill, I'm surprised it's him. Like little bit vain, Gary. Final game on the board. Nice digression, that Baz. Enjoyed that. Is the second one of these shorties we've got here. It is Liverpool against Brentford. Liverpool are 1-4 minus 400. The draw is 19-4 plus 475, and Brentford are all the way out at 9-1. Just laughing at Lee. It has gone very much Cristiano Ronaldo, turkey teeth and moisturiser, Baz. We're certainly on trend there. Liverpool, Brentford, Baz, another shorty.
Yeah, I thought Liverpool looked good last week once they hit their stride. It took them a little while to get going, unfortunately for me, because I needed them to score in the first half. I expect they'll win this one at home. I do think Ipswich caused enough trouble at the other end to suggest this Liverpool defence might still have a little bit of vulnerability as they did last year. And I think Brentford are more than capable of getting on a score sheet with Mbumo, Wissa up that end. I think it's another one where it's hard to get involved with Liverpool at the prices, but I've found one I like at a plus money price. It's a market you've picked earlier on, which is a bit of an odd one because it's not a market I very often go for. Might be a debut, actually, but it's the match result and both teams to score. I think Brentford will score. I think Liverpool will have enough to beat them. So I'm going for Liverpool to win and both teams to score at 13-10 plus 130.
Lloydo has co-signed that, Barry. He signed off on that. If it's good enough for Lloydo. Yeah, Liverpool did take a while to get going, but won comfortably enough. Nice win for Brentford. Maybe slightly fortunate. I did note down Mbuemo's name, like you mentioned. He's in really good form. He's a good player, isn't he? The more I see him, the more I like him.
You can't call him Mbuemo, though, Malcolm, apparently. I've always called him Mbuemo, but he's actually Mbuemo, apparently, isn't it? Because it's E before U. It's E before U, it's not like a Kinder Bueno.
Okay. What he's known as in the dressing room, Kinder. What's it again?
Mbumo, I think, is how you meant to say it.
Sorry if you're listening, Mbumo. Won't happen again.
I mean, that's Liverpool probably wrong as well, but it's definitely not Buemo.
Yeah, okay. Liverpool, I'm going to say this sentence. Liverpool won both of these games, Barry, by 3 goals last year. So I'm going to take them to do it again. But, Baz, I've put a bit of a safety net in here. I've got Liverpool -2, -2.5 on the Asian handicap, Baz. So this will push on 2 goals, Barry. I don't know if that's a market you're very familiar with, but if Liverpool win by 2, that'll push. Minus if they win by over 2, 3, for example. That's 23-75, 23-17 plus 135, Baz, is Liverpool to cover a -2, -2.5 handicap. There we go. Sam's joined us. Sam, how you doing? Best podcast on the network, says Sam. He's a very shrewd man. Right, Baz. It takes us fucking ages now to do all of these fancy things that we've got up at the end.
That's because you've introduced tons of different little features.
I have, yeah. Well, so someone on a couple of people, in fact, on YouTube, Baz, asked us about another feature. They want the nap, Baz. People want to look. We talked about this on show 1, didn't we? I don't know if we talked about it off air or on air. We normally do all our production meetings on air anyway, so I'm guessing. But I don't know, because I do it on the baseball and it does me tits in, because I might give 10 winners out of 15 and the one lock I'll give losers. Like, I've got no strong feelings. So if I was going to give one this week, I would give Fulham. Fulham would be my lock at 4-5. But I might go 8-2 and Fulham will be the loser. So, I mean, question mark, do you want to throw it in, Baz, or not?
We can throw it in from next week. I haven't thought about it. You can't put me under pressure to come up with a lock with 30 seconds notice. But I'm happy to put out my best bet every show. And that's easy enough to...
Frank wants to axe a few, I think, by the looks of it. Right, anyway, Baz. We'll start with the corned beef pie accumulator. Team total over 2.5, Baz. Manchester City, Liverpool, and Tottenham. I've thrown Tottenham in there for the corned beef pie. Plus 482, which is 4.8 to 1. The Steak and Stilton accumulator, Barry, is both teams to score sixfold. You like that, don't you? Both teams to score at Palace, Southampton, Tottenham, Bournemouth, Villa, and Wolves is 18 to 1, Barry. So there you go for the two pie-based ACCAs. What have you got?
So my tier 1 ACCA, or the corned beef ACCA as you want to call it, my ACCA is team total as well. It's very similar. I've got a team total over 1.5 goals for Brighton, Spurs, and Newcastle, 4 to 1. This could all go wrong in the early game against Man United, of course. But yeah, team total over 1.5 goals for Brighton, Spurs, and Newcastle. And then the tier 2, Steak and Stilton ACCA, is the same 3, but I'm adding in Fulham over 1.5, and I'm adding in Liverpool and Man City over 2.5. That takes us to 22 to 1. We're going to need a lot more goals this week than we got last week in the Premier League to hit these ACCAs. But I am 100% on my tier 1 ACCA, so we'll see.
Yeah, you did bring home the corned beef last week, Barry. Underdog player of the week for me is West Ham United. You mentioned that of the two teams in that game at Palace, you would take West Ham. I took the over 2.5 goals, but I think I would take West Ham as well. See what they've got to offer with a new player. So yeah, West Ham would be my dog, Baz.
Yeah, I've got West Ham to beat Palace at 11 to 5 as well as my underdog of the week.
Okay, double bubble on West Ham. Goal scorer went back to a player you mentioned earlier on. You went shots on target for Dominic Solanke. That's fine with me as long as one of them goes in. He had a few chances the other night. Same again this time round. 9 to 2, first and last goal. 11 to 8, plus 137 for Dominic Solanke to score, Baz.
And the scorer for me is Muniz for Fulham. I like Fulham this week. I like Muniz at 13 to 8 anytime. 9 to 2, first goal.
The slow roller, Baz. Turns out it was a very fucking slow roller, wasn't it? Because he didn't roll. Sat there. Well, I've remembered to pull the chocks away this week, Baz. You're going to love this play, Barry. So we've reloaded Virgin Bet with another 15 quid. And this is a great bet. What a bet this is, Barry. It's quite complicated. It's a money line double on Manchester City and Liverpool. You like that? So that £15 returns £20 and 45p. Ever so slightly hanging around the 1 to 3 mark. So let's get off the mark. We need to get it rolling, Baz. Once it's rolling, a rolling stone gathers no moss, etc. So the slow rollers, the City Liverpool double. And Barry, we need to send you up a ladder. Off you go.
Yeah, here's a feature that's never getting scrapped, Malcolm. Bazar's ladders. 100% on the season is Bazar's ladder. So we go again this week. There was a few markets I wanted to delve into that I couldn't. Fulham corners was one. Spurs corners was another. The lines just didn't jump off. There was a lot of a couple of games where I wanted to look at saves and couldn't get the saves markets up, or it was a little bit too high. But I found one. It's in the Palace game. So Palace v West Ham, which I think might be quite an open game between the two of them. It's Eze shots on goal, not shots on target, just shots on goal. He had 7 last week against Brentford. At home, he averages over 4 a game. Last few games of last season, he had a couple of 5s. He had another 7. And as I say, I think it'll be an open game. He'll be on set pieces, any free kicks around the box, penalties if they get them. So Eze shots on goal, over 3.5 is easy. 10 to 11 for over 3.5 Eze shots. And then we're going up the ladder. Over 4.5 Eze shots, 2 to 1. Over 5.5, 4 to 1. Over 6.5, which he hit last week, is at 8 to 1. And we're going to hit the top of the ladder. Will be over 7.5 Eze shots on goal. is 16-1.
All the way up to 16s. Love that, Baz. Very good.
Mateta's injured, isn't he? I think Callum's mentioned Mateta be on pens. Mateta went off injured, I'm sure, last week. Sure he won't start this week.
Yeah, don't know that, Baz. Yeah, that is quite epic end of the show now, Baz. We've got to go through all that shit. Fun, though. I don't mind it. We kept it to 1 hour and 1 minute, so there you go. Anything else, Barry? I believe we are done.
No, we've hit an hour. There's no time for any chit-chat tonight, is there? We'll have to save
No
that for
chit-chat.
the recap shows where all the lifestyle stuff will have to stay now, because we find it impossible to put a full slate out in under an hour.
Yeah, that is true. Right, okay. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, everybody who joined us. It was tons of fun, as per usual. Back on, maybe it's Monday night again, Baz. I'm going out on Sunday to watch the match. Maybe it's full of beer. Could go Sunday night, though. We'll see. We'll talk about it. But yeah, watch out for a schedule. As Baz said earlier on, like, rate, review. We need to catch up to Cristiano. So we need more subscribers and all of that. Good luck with your bets. We'll be back on Sunday or Monday. And until then, we will see you all down the road. Cheers.